You failed your COVID test. It's
the No Class Podcast
with your infectious hosts, Eddie
and Matt.
So the interesting thing is, here's podcast number 66.
Wow.
In podcast 65, if you'll go back and listen to that last one, it's the sweet sound of Matt giving me and my family COVID. I hope you're hearing all this. There's going to be lots of coughing and wheezing through this.
Yeah. We're still on the recovering list. So yeah, poor John. I love John to death. Boy, he's just my little buddy.
Not anymore.
Yeah, but no, I hate that he got sick. I mean, it's karma, but poor John.
So in fact, you will probably hear some coughing and wheezing. We are recovered.
Yeah.
But even then, that's probably like 90, 95%. Would you say you're 100% back to max yet?
Well, obviously not, because like I said, still like before, I mean, I'm a big guy and I'm not like Mr. Health Nut, but I mean, I run up and down a set of stairs. My house, you have to go upstairs to get into my house, but no matter which way you go. Like if I ever, heaven forbid, got, paralyzed from the waist down, I'd have to move out of this house. But no, I catch myself getting a little winded still. But I mean, other than that, I don't feel like miserable when I wake up in the morning, like I did for a long time there.
I'm still having to go every few minutes. So if you do end up hearing some of those, blame Matt.
Yeah. We apologize, but boo-hoo, we're still sort of recovering.
We are recording at Matt's house for the first time ever, I think, for a podcast.
Yeah.
Because Matt's not allowed at my house anymore. Persona non grata.
He is a persona non grata. I told him, I guess I'm persona non grata. Yeah.
So, last podcast, Matt gave us the COVIDs.
Yeah, on purpose. I mean,
on purpose.
Yeah.
And the thing that will stick in my mind is he's like, I don't know, man. I think I might have COVID. And I was like, dude, in the time of the COVIDs, you can't do that. You got to freaking stay home.
Yeah. No, verbatim, him and John jumped in the truck. We were all going to go for lunch. And I said, man, I had a hard time getting out of bed this morning. I just felt really run down. And he goes, ah, shit. And I looked at him and said, I doubt it's COVID, and we took off. And yeah, but best thing would have been to have said, now, you guys stay in the house. Let's not do lunch, whatever. But I've dodged it for 2.5 years. I have waded in this stuff. I've rolled in it and did war paint with it and not got sick. So I really, in my hubris, I thought that I was bulletproof. And guess what, kids? I'm not.
So if you're ever in a zombie scenario with Matt, he's been bit. Trust me. Don't trust him. Trust me.
I'm patient.
Just go ahead and put one in the head for him.
2, please, right at the base. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, that's why if anybody that was like, "Where's the podcast been?" Well, we would have sounded like Froggy from.
Yeah, my voice was definitely shredded.
Yeah.
That was the whole time. I would say the COVID was about like bad sinuses or the dreaded summer cold. But it wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to die. I'm going to lay here and die. But it was all up in my throat the whole time. That's where it had me. And my wife is like, you sound horrible.
Well, I mean, every day when I'd be like, how you guys doing? You were like, we're still sick. We're still miserable. I was like, God bless them. It just seemed like every day. But I don't know, with some of that towards the end, just trying to, like, yeah, you should, I want you to feel bad, or whatever.
Well, that does remind me the please kick Matt whenever you see him policy is still in effect. So if you've not got your kick in on Matt, you get to pick the spot, and I endorse it. Violence against Matt.
No, I really hate that. I got it. I hate they got it from me. But I mean, to quote you from way back when this shit was first surging, was you were like, looked at me one day, shook your head and said, it's either going to be you or my wife, but one of y'all is going to bring this shit around, because nursing homes have it like crazy. And Jen works at the nursing home, so
it is surging again in our local area. At least.
It really is. But what's weird is like there's nurses like me that have not caught this stuff because we've been diligent for like 2.5 years, and now like recently I found out. Unfortunately, and if I had known this before I got sick, I probably wouldn't have went over there that day. But after having got it and called my boss, said, dude, I got COVID. He goes, yeah, you and everybody else. Went, what? And he goes, oh, you didn't know? It's every floor has 2 or 3 people out right now with COVID. Now, well, shit, if I'd known that,
Well, the last piece of shit that I'm going to get mad about this is, what did he do immediately after leaving my house? Take a COVID test.
Oh, yeah, because I was...
You son of a... You couldn't do that in advance. You couldn't be like, maybe I should grab one of those COVID tests now before I see my dear friend and his family.
Truth be known, I I hadn't really looked into it. And then, so what I was talking to, ironically enough, somebody, and they were like, well, you can just go on to like Walgreens and just walk in. They'll give you one for free if you've got any kind of insurance. And I said, it's that easy. They went, yeah. So I walked into Walgreens and said, can I have a COVID test? And they handed me a bag of 8 of them. I'm like, I don't really need 8, but thanks. That's why I was trying to offer y'all some for free.
You can also get them through the USPS.
Really?
Yeah, I can't give you the website, but just go do like a USPS search for COVID test, and they'll mail you 8 for free, and you can request them 3 times.
That's phenomenal. I didn't know that.
But
this is good to share with
you need it in advance. So, dear listener, go ahead and order those right now.
Yeah,
because it's not going to hurt to have it around, and they don't expire for quite a while, and they keep extending the shelf life on them too.
That's good. But it's definitely like, I'm gonna tell you, like I told poor Eddie, I was like, when he said, well, I checked mine, it was negative, but even though it was negative, you definitely
a couple of times. No, I eventually came up positive.
Okay, yeah. But it's usually, like I said, it takes about 3 days for most viruses to really build up in your body. And but like for me, I mean, you got to go deep to where your eyes are watering and even twist a little bit.
Nope.
You didn't have to, huh?
Nope.
Okay, well, good.
I think that's the old guidance, and maybe some of the older tests, but not. I mean, it's like 3/4 of an inch up your nose.
Just dib-dab in your nostril a little bit. I'll be dying. Okay, but anyway, yeah. But mine, having went deep and twisted and all that stuff, when I put the drop on the thing, those 2 little pink lines popped up. Like they said, give it 15 minutes, 15 seconds. I was like, crap. So I took a picture, sent to Eddie, and said, well, I'm having your baby. I mean,
well, I think, is it like 8 minutes, depending on which test you got? 8, 10, 15 minutes is how long it takes it to turn. Or they're like, give it that long?
They said, give it 15 minutes. And at that point, if your other little line didn't show up, throw it in the trash and walk away or whatever. But
so I think we had like the 10-minute ones or what have you. When we finally got our positives, I think we tested negative a couple of times, like probably 3 days in when we actually did test positive, and we're like, maybe it's sinuses, maybe it's just our sinuses.
Yeah, I had my fingers crossed.
So about that 3rd day in or whatever, when we tested positive, mine just barely showed positive. But my son's was freaking bright, blazing, bleep, 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 bleep. So I don't know if that's an indicator like you've got it worse than me because your test, but even if you see the very faintest, if you get out the microscope and see it,
is your body is making more of the antibodies. I think that's what it's looking for, maybe. And so it goes to show you that his young, vibrant body quickly mobilized antibodies or something, maybe.
Or I didn't have to as much because my shit was already pretty tight. They were like, you got this. We'll put out a few token antibodies, but you're going to bounce right back. You're the man. So when you hear me talking about attempted murder, that is talking about Matt giving me COVID. So he tried. He took his best shot at the crown. And now, nothing. The other thing that Matt will appreciate is that this COVID probably cost me $1,000.
Oh, damn. That sucks.
So if you want to start making payments on that, we can set up a schedule. And
that seems fair.
All right.
Well, I got an idea. A while back, I got these, like, they're plastic brass knuckles, but they have a taser built into them. And I was going to let you tase me, bro.
Right in the taint.
No. It's like below the neck and above the waistline,
Here's what we do, because I'm an idea man. At the Long Con, we will set up a booth for tase a shitbird in the taint. And you'll be back there in like a kilt or something, and people can pay $1. Do you hear this? I hope you are hearing this COVID-infected lung laugh of Matt.
My God. Yeah, I'm dying over here. I'm literally getting a little lightheaded. I'm leaning away from the mic, so I hope that's not too loud.
But definitely you didn't want us to do one last week.
Oh God, no. Yeah, I was laughing. But Bad Mike was teasing Eddie when he called off doing a podcast, and he was like, "Suck it up, Buttercup." Me and Eric did one when we had COVID or something, and Eddie was like, "Nah, I can't do it, whatever." But I asked him privately. I said, "So we can't do it?" He's like, "Oh man, my voice is crap,"
Yeah,
So,
it would have been. Usually people talk about, what is it, your manimal voice?
I think it was our buddy Nick one time said
dulcet tones.
The dulcet tones and my animalistic, growl or whatever.
So I would have been the one. I would have been out growling Matt for a change.
Yeah, I guess, what was it? Our Gang or the Little Rascals that had Froggy? The little kid that had the really deep voice. Anyway.
But I definitely sounded like death. But that's where my COVID wanted to go, is just drain down your throat.
Right, which is always fun. Well, enough. I know that we've talked about, being bedridden, whatever.
And hopefully you, dear listener, have got a little good information, useful information about this.
Definitely wash your hands. Don't touch your face. All that shit. Because, no offense, but people are getting this stuff that, they're touching a grocery cart or, or doorknob or light switch after somebody else touched it that was rubbing their nose or something, or coughed in their hand. So, just wash your hands and don't touch your face.
But my wife made it through the whole 2 weeks basically without getting it.
So glad to hear that.
Because she moved into her room, kind of like the man cave, the woman cave.
Yeah, her girl cave.
So she ended up moving in there for basically 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But she was around us at the beginning of it, probably before we became infectious, which was luckily for her that we caught it in time.
Yeah, yeah.
So she didn't have to deal with it. And she's probably got some slight immunity from rolling around in it like you.
Yeah. And one thing I'll say is that originally the plan was supposed to have been that like the next day it was going to be John, Kathy, and Eddie and me loading up in my truck to go to see our friends at Dragon's Nest. And I talked 3 or 4 times. I was like, thank God at least I caught it, the day before, because I would definitely.
You'd have been a super spreader.
I would not want to have given it to Kathy and John. God bless them. They might have phenomenal immune systems, but I wouldn't want to test that theory. I think a lot about them. So I'm really, in all seriousness, I'm so glad that I wasn't around them.
Yeah. Well, maybe listeners, you'll remember from the last cast, Matt breathed his devil COVID breath on me on Thursday. And then Friday we were supposed to go to the grand opening, and then Saturday we would have been at the grand opening
supposed to run games.
Weekend running games.
And we were excited about it. Eddie was super pumped, so I really felt I hope too.
I hope you do, because I had helped them move that week and done this and that, and boy, it was just like Christmas was coming. And
I was excited. I was very excited myself. Yeah, so
ruined it for everyone.
Because I did this on purpose, of course.
He did.
Yeah, but anyway, luckily Eddie understands. It was.
No.
One of those happy little accidents,
There is no forgiveness.
All right. So
moving on.
The Long Con. Actually, hey, be looking for it. We just did an unboxing. I've seen some of those, and I've always thought, what? But we're so tickled to get our box of goodies from our buddy David Beatty, who is coming to the Long Con. We now are the proud owners of 2 great, big, gigantic tomes, the Weird Frontiers books. I've got the leather bound, which is gorgeous, but Eddie's got the regular cover, and it's gorgeous too. They're both just really beautiful.
If I've got to debate it, as pretty as the leather is, I like the standard edition or whatever you want to call it.
I won't lie. I was having a little bit of remorse because when I saw what the cover looked like, at one point I thought about, would Eddie notice if I said, buddy, I just think so much of you. We'll let you have the leather bound. But no. It's gorgeous. And it might hopefully hold up a little. Even though they both look really well made, sturdy books, sturdy, gorgeous books. But yeah. So you might look for that. Maybe we'll upload it to our YouTube, I guess, or something. We did an unboxing, and definitely Beatty put some stuff in there to make it personalized. It was funny. Anyway, but yeah, talking about Long Con, David Beatty's coming, Brendan LaSalle's coming, Sean Roberson, our good buddy John Watson, and and even I think Watson's boss, who's the big tour guy, is supposed to be coming. So ooh la la! I'm sorry I can't conjure his name right now, but that COVID fog is real. Some of the malingering effects, COVID, a little bit of COVID brain, and just me getting winded easily. But that's
also in the DCC Goodman Games family, the Rules is Written crew.
Oh yeah, my bad. And because at the con we didn't really get to hobnob, but Matt was there, I believe.
Oh yeah, he was in one of my games.
And definitely, guys that we sat together 35.
Steven?
Yeah, Steven. Thank you, Steven Surratt. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Yeah, so we sat and talked for like 35 minutes at the con. Super nice guy. So I'm really glad that they're coming. That's exciting. And their Twitch, they seems to be quite popular on the Goodman Games family. So.
I think it's maybe the number 2 or number 3 show.
Yeah, so
behind us.
Yeah.
Nobody has been able to top our show.
Well, our numbers have been really good, but Anyway, again, we missed out on doing one of those because we were
why?
I don't know. I'm not sure why. COVID
I was talking to our good friend Gary the other night, Double R,
and
he was like, yeah, because you got the COVID. Didn't you miss this and this? And did you guys miss a podcast and a Twitch show? And I was like, yeah, Gary. Yeah, we did.
Rub salt in that wound there, bud.
Plus, it cost me $1,000.
Oh, man.
So these are all things you can add on Matt's invoice here.
There you go. I talked to Single R, our buddy Gary O, the original OG there.
So did I.
And he told me, he's like, oh, yeah, I just had COVID the other day. And yeah, it was nothing. I'm like, wow. So again, it's so damn random. But yeah, he's doing good. And they've just opened up sales for North Texas RPG. So that's good. Get your ticket, and they're offering a discount, but only for like a month. So if you're going to get a ticket, I jump on it now and avail yourself of that discount. It's pretty significant.
Yeah, I want to say the discount's
$30. Yeah, I mean, it's quite a significant. It's really worth getting off your. If you know, and here's the thing about like us or NTRPG. Go ahead and get the ticket, because even if you're like, well, something might change in 10 months, well, they'll let you roll over to the next year. So you're already set up for the next year. You're not going to lose any money. So go ahead and avail yourself of that discount and get the ticket, And the same thing with us. That's like, get your ticket. If something were to happen, we're cool guys. We'll let you roll over to the next year. And the other thing is, again, like, get your hotel room, because, you can cancel, I think, 24, 48 hours. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if something happened where you couldn't go, oh, well, but yeah, go ahead and get your ticket, get your room.
Yeah, I've been a little bit boo-hooey about the badge sales, but if you look at other conventions too, nobody is back to the levels they were at.
Yeah, it's ironic. After the last podcast that we did, I think the one previous to the last one, I came that same day. I was running, we were playing games with my group that we normally play at the club. Mm-hmm. We played here at my house, and one of the players, which was cool, he said, yeah, I just listened to y'all's podcast because you uploaded that one really quick or whatever that day.
I always do.
And one guy was like, yeah, what's the big deal about ticket sales? And I said, the thing about it was, he said, it's just people are going to pile in at the last minute. I said, oh, I know, that's how it actually works when we did Red River, when we did do Long Con. But like, if we have, like,
cash up front, cash in hand.
Yeah, first of all, we're going to sweat, like, is this going to be the year that nobody shows up and we're on the hook for the price of the hotel, which is...
It's happened. I mean, it's not like these are unfounded things, because remember, we did Red River RPG Con and we watched that one die and we hated it.
Yeah, and I will say this. We were supposed to have done a con in April when COVID hit. And if it wasn't for the governor shutting everything down, we probably wouldn't have got a refund. Or not right. Refund. We would have been on the hook for the price of that April venue, and that would have been pretty steep. So we were kind of sweating that. But luckily, because the governor shut things down, and there's still some people that got screwed on some things here and there. You'd hear stories, but luckily, the people that were running the Hilton Garden at that time were cool and said, "Hey, we're not going to."
At that time,
yeah, we're not going to charge you. I'd say I put it in there, but I thought I was subtle. But little dig. If anything, we're spiteful. But we should be like the Spitecast. But anyway, yeah.
No class, all Spitecast.
Yeah, that's right. Haters. But yeah, anyway, yeah. Like I said, one of the gamers was like, what's the big deal? And like I said, first of all, we want to have the price of the venue covered. And anything after that, we've never made a profit, because we're going to roll it back into the con. We're going to buy goodies. Like last year, we had some cool koozies. And like, we get the cool artwork for the t-shirts, and that's not free. So, I mean, again, we have to pay somebody. So it's one of those things that we take whatever excess money we get from you guys and we roll it back, because we love doing stuff for y'all and we want to have fun. But it's one of those things like, anyway, yeah. So that's the only reason why a lot of times we're kind of anxious to see some ticket sales, is we want to, because the thing is, if everybody piles at the end, it's too late to reach out to China to have
exactly
the magic door knockers or whatever made, because the slow boat from China has been slow for years. And right now with supply lines and things, good Lord, the lead out time you have to get something from China is just nuts. And that's where everything's something's mass produced. I hate to say it. I'd rather buy American made, but yeah, good luck.
And we've got a really cool idea for some swag right now.
Oh yeah.
Which is probably more expensive than you get at a lot of other conventions.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to order it until we got some cash in hand to cover that. Because it's like, well, if 5 people show up.
Yeah. And yeah. So anyway, no, we won't belabor that anymore. We already have. But yeah, I'm really excited, and it's funny that I keep thinking, Long Con's a million miles away, and then I think, oh wait a minute, it's August now, so November's not that far away. So I mean, definitely, I'll just one more time, like if you know you're coming, get your ticket.
Well, the other thing is I have said it many times. I hate doing this self-promotion stuff. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I don't like to do it, and I don't want to be that person where you're like, oh, if we run into Eddie and Matt or whatever, they're going to be like, hey, you coming to the Long Con, you better get your badge Long Con, blah, 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 blah. You know, how you start avoiding somebody like they're selling you, what is it, Amway or what have you, with this pyramid scheme. Yeah.
Scamway.
Where you're like, don't talk to that guy. He's going to ask you about this. I hate having to do that part of it.
Yeah.
And I hate that we haven't got financially secure or whatever you want to say for this, so that every year we're kind of like, maybe not. But it's paycheck to paycheck living for an event.
I was talking to a friend that runs a con as well, and he said, man, that's just the thing. He said, we sell the great majority of our tickets in the last month, and their con is one of these ones that offers that upfront discount, figuring people will pile in while the discount's going because it's a significant savings. He's like, nope, there's still the people that are going to piddle shit around to the last minute, and that's the grand majority.
But I think they're still in a different financial bracket and situation.
Sure. Well, they've got some big whales that have big wallets that are like, what can I do here? Take my money, But hey, we got the people that are diehards that are loyal. I'd give you an example. I reached out to our buddy, Alan McCoy, who comes to our various cons. Super nice guy. Has a really good Facebook page called Dungeons and Dragons Fundamentals, and he does these things like like how to run a different types of monsters, and like he kind of gets inside their head, about how to run them, like fight like an owlbear or whatever, And anyway, they're really great articles. Super nice guy. Anyway, I reached out to Alan and we were talking, and it was just, I want to see how he's doing. I don't share his private business, but he's had some stuff going on in recent time. And he was like, oh yeah, man, I'm glad you talked to me. That jogged my memory to get a ticket. But I tell you, that's what I tell you. Another one, one time previously I'd reached out to him and said, hey, because he was good about coming to Red River. I was like, are you coming to Long Con? And he was like, yeah. And I thought, oh, wait a minute, we owe you a ticket, because I think it seemed like he couldn't make it to the second Red River, or he bought a Long Con ticket one time and he couldn't use it. And he said, man, don't worry about it. And I want to buy another ticket. I'm like, well, why? And he said, I've helped run a con, and I know it's a lot of work and a lot of frustration and, a lot of your time and energy. I mean, and I'm going to brag on us. I remember our very first Long Con, we had guys come up to us and go, this is your first con? Because Eddie had done so much work and what I could contribute, when I'm not working, that it went off without a hitch. Or if there were any hitches, you didn't see them, because Eddie did a phenomenal job, and he gave himself an ulcer worrying about everything, being perfect. But so that's the thing. I mean, not to, boo-hoo, woe is us, or pat my back toward here. Let me move my hand so you can get your hand in there. But I mean, no, we try to provide a really good con, and people have a good time, and we get a lot of accolades, and I'd like to think they're genuine. But anyway, I kind of went off on a tangent there. Sorry.
Well, if you're listening to this, you're probably part of the solution and not the problem.
Yeah, we love you.
So what I will say is, though, remember to spread the word.
Yeah.
Because if you tell two friends, and then they tell two friends, and they tell two friends, there you go.
Yeah, like the thing I ask people to like and share, some people have liked and shared it, but I'd hope to get a few more likes and a few more shares. But oh well.
Yeah, if you're on some Facebook group, put in a plug for us. Be like, hey, I love going to Long Con, because obviously me and Matt have to say that. It doesn't mean nearly as much coming from us when we're like, we will have a fantastic time at the Long Con. Well, if we get some unsolicited folks that will put it out there for us, so that we don't have to be the ones promoting this all the time, that really helps too. So just word of mouth and stuff like that. Think about us.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard how gaming has blown up at Gamers XP in Shreveport Bossier. So before we were like, are there gamers in Shreveport Bossier? Apparently they are. They have some insane turnout on their D&D night or whatever. So how do we reach these kids? It's like, we need any of our Shreveport Bossier people, toot our horn. I mean, if you don't mind, please toot the horn for us there. Let people know Longview's a short drive. The room rates are really affordable. You can double up with people. Tell people to come out. Tell them the joys of going to a gaming convention. It's like, do you like cake? Yeah. How would you like a whole weekend of cake? Oh my God. This is yeah. Anyway,
But what if it was cookies?
well, then I would be slapping them out of people's hands and just going, mine,
Sort of along this same line, though, is like trying to find people to come to the con. How many people now are wearing these Hellfire Club shirts from Stranger Things, and you're like, oh, you want to play some D&D? Nope. It's like, what? It's up there with the people that are like,
is this something you've actually experienced?
yeah. So this is up there for me as the little like pet peeves as games that are metal. They're like, this game is so metal. Oh, do you like metal? Do you want to go listen to some Slayer? No. But this game is really metal. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
This is my cultural appropriation.
Yeah, I like in Stranger Things where at one point like, we need some music, and they're shuffling through all these cassettes that are like Iron Maiden juice pieces. Like, this is music, you jackasses, But anyway, but yeah, I have a strong suspicion we might get back to that later.
What, jackasses?
Exactly. Or Stranger Things.
The strangest things. All right, here's one more thing that I'll put up here in the, unlabeled section before we get into our topics and our pulp culture. Mm-hmm. We are now on the good old YouTubes. So people are checking that out.
Thank you.
And I am wondering, I'll put that out there for those of you that are listening, would you care at all if we left SoundCloud? If we ditched SoundCloud and just went straight to YouTube?
Yeah, that's a thought.
Does it make any difference to you in your life? Is it any different? Like, I like to listen to it on SoundCloud because of X, Y, or Z, or I don't listen to it on SoundCloud anyway. So
yeah.
Because there's other ways you can find us.
At one time, Cody had it set up where
on Apple Music or whatever it is now.
Whatever. I don't know. Was it somehow it would just auto load us there, which was cool. Because that's why with my Alexa, there's sometimes I'll go, Alexa, play, and it goes to iTunes. It doesn't go to SoundCloud. So.
But anyway, that's a discussion that's happening. So we'll keep you in the loop. But if someday we're not there anymore, you'll know what's up.
And definitely sound off if you have an opinion one way or the other. We need that information.
All right, into the pop culture, unless you got anything else.
Nope, go for it, brother.
All right, I'm going to say books and comic books, and then I'm going to lean away and cough.
That's funny. So recently I had picked it up again, the collected, Conan from was it Marvel or Dark Horse? But it's those. Both. Yeah, both. But I was.
Is it the old like Savage Sword, or is it the more new stuff? Usually the Savage Swords are a lot thicker, and then the Dark Horse ones are fairly thin.
Yeah, then this would be the Dark Horse. So I've been back to reading some of the collected Dark Horse Conan comic again. But other than that, that's about it for me for comics. Oh, and books. Well, I've been reading actually Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules and Antidote for Chaos or whatever. So that's one of the things I've been looking at. Oh, you're more than welcome, Mark. Those are fun. Eddie just happened to look over and see my Harrow County collected, what do you call those? I always want to call them digest, but it's a term in comics when it's all like a
trade paperback.
Yeah, it's the
graphic novel.
Yeah, the graphic novel when they take like one storyline that's collected in one, yeah. So, but yeah, Harrow County, we've talked about it before. That's a good one and a good time to mention it while we're talking about books and comic books. But yeah, that's what I've been, and of course I've been reading the Pathfinder for Savage Worlds rule book, which is almost pretty. I'll tell people, if you get that book, you don't need the core Savage Worlds rule book because they readdress those rules in the rule book. But yeah, it's really good. It's really well done. The artwork's really gorgeous, but it's a lot of the stuff. I think they're just reusing Piazzo's artwork from some other.
It costs $50.
Yeah, no, but it's a really nice book. Wouldn't you say that's? I mean, if you look at it, it's really a nice, well-made book.
How much does a standard book cost? Do you know off the top of your
Standard
head?
book's not near that. It's probably about $30, I think. And again, the core rule book is really well made or whatever. But the Savage World. Because we had been playing some Savage World riffs, and that's why we're excited about having Sean Roberson come into the con. But yeah, that's it for me on books and comic books. You, sir?
No, when I had the COVIDs, that was one thing. I did not crawl back to read any comics. Shortly after that, though, for some reason, I got the urge to reread through Irredeemable. It's another one of those evil Superman comics. Oh. And I talked about that on like episode 45 or something like that. Since I'm hearing some of the old podcasts, putting them up on YouTube now. But that one's, okay. It's good. It's not great, but for some reason, I just got it was kind of like, how did that all go again? So I was like, let me refresh my memory on that.
Yeah, yeah.
And plus, probably watching The Boys again.
Yeah, yeah.
Put you in the evil Superman mood.
Yeah, yeah, because definitely, oof.
Now, what I could do was watch some TV. So you got something for TV for us?
Oh, yeah. I mean, both of us were stuck. But I tell you, I will
This might
say,
be the longest TV episode ever.
there was one day when, and this is bad, when I felt so bad, I couldn't even, just sitting up on a couch to watch TV was kind of like, I need to take a break, go take a nap or something. It was, yeah, I bet you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
No, because I couldn't sleep.
Oh, that's right.
I couldn't fall asleep, and then for a while I had COVID insomnia.
Yeah. I didn't even know
So
that
I'd
was
be
a
like,
thing.
I need to go to bed so bad. And I would go to bed, and I would fall asleep for like 5 minutes and felt like I would go to sleep for 5 minutes, be awake for hours, and maybe fall asleep another 5 minutes. And it was, ugh.
I feel you, because I never knew there was such a thing until you and I were talking. And I remember when you said it, it struck me. I think it was like I came down, I was really tired that day when I had lunch with Eddie and John. The next day I was just like, I was weak as a kitten, no energy, was achy. The next day I was achy as frick. But I remember somewhere in those 3-4 really bad days, while you're already trying to recover from damn illness, when I went to bed, like you said, I'd fall asleep, then I'd wake up, and it was just this fitful waking. And it almost felt like, have you ever had too much caffeine? You almost feel kind of jangly or jittery.
Yep.
Yeah, it was so weird. I felt like real jittery and wired, and yeah, for 2 nights of that, just, yeah, like you said, I couldn't, it sucked. But then, yeah.
That was probably about the worst symptom that I had.
Oh yeah, because I'm blessed in that regard. If I put my head on a pillow, I'm asleep, and but yeah, that sucked. But I mean, like, I take 50 of Benadryl, and I take a melatonin, and I take an Ashwagandha chew, and so I mean, yeah. But anyway, TV.
Yeah, I have to throw in too that this is the first time that me and Matt have talked at all since the that
Yeah.
last podcast. We've messaged in Facebook, but no face-to-face conversation. So if this gets a little long-winded.
Yeah. Sorry. So we're talking about TV, not movies yet. Okay. So TV. So on a goof, I saw there was a cartoon, which is supposed to be an adult cartoon on Netflix. Called Farzar.
I was going to talk about that too.
Okay. Well, then I tell you, it's awful.
Yes.
It's very bad. I will say I got one laugh out of it. I mean, I'm gonna give it a try. I went about 2 or 3 episodes deep, and then I was done. Eddie's smirking. I can't. So go ahead.
So I have mentioned this many times on the podcast. So maybe you'll remember this about how I have the OCD or the compulsive. It's like, if I watch X amount of the show, I'm going to watch the whole thing. But the other side of that is, if I sniff it out in like 5 or 10 minutes, I'm done. I jump up and run away.
Yeah.
So that one, I sniffed it out in about 5 minutes. I was like, this is a turd. I'm not investing any time in it. I watched maybe, like I said, 5 to 10 minutes. And there's one joke where it's like, is this going to be more Rick and Morty or more Futurama? And it's like, neither one. You guys really freaking set yourselves up with that question, because this is a turd.
It really is.
Run
bad.
away.
But I thought, maybe, like I said, I gave him a decent try. But I mean, honestly, I kind of envy you. Yeah, I wish I'd bailed out after 5 minutes. But and what's sad is there's some really good voice actors on there. But that's not, I mean, you have to have content for them to use their voices with. But it's sad because I actually recognize some of the voice actors, and they're great voice actors, but the writing, it's just not there. I mean, out of 3 episodes, I got 1 chuckle.
In the very beginning, when they're telling you the setup of the story, I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. And then immediately they go, derp and derp. It's not really like that. Like, there's a mighty hero fighting this evil villain. And then you see the mighty hero, and of course, he's an idiot. And that's not very mighty, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
And you're going to follow around his loser son. Can't possibly be his son.
Yeah. Right.
So,
yeah, the whole thing is pretty bad.
It's very try hard.
Yeah.
It's like, what is the most extreme thing? What's the most extreme joke we can make now?
Yeah.
Like, your mom. It was your mom, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah, you could figure, a lot of people unfortunately go, kind of like when they first started making shows for HBO, and they're like, wait a minute, we're on cable. We can do whatever we want. And some of that, you could address some stuff that was really neat and provocative that you couldn't do on network television. Like The Sopranos about gangsters and killing people and hookers and strippers and all that shit. But then there's some shows on some of the channels where they're like, oh boy, we can show like penises and boobies everywhere, and we can cuss every other word. And it's like, yeah, you can, but do you have to? I mean,
and it's one of those shows where the bad language or the shocking statement is the joke.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I will share the one thing that made me chuckle though was so there's one character that's a cyborg, but technically the only part of him that's still human is his penis. And it gets, of course,
that's a perfect example of the humor too.
Exactly, yeah. And so of course it gets blown off, because who doesn't love a good joke about a guy's ding dong getting blown off? So yeah, basically every guy out there just went ugh, Well, then of course when they go to replace his penis, it's this gigantic thing that's like 3 foot long and bigger out as my arm, and it's got like a fruit orange juicer or something thing on the end. I mean, it's nobody would want that thing anywhere near him or whatever. So then they introduce a character really quick in this snippet of like Crazy Debbie, and she's supposed to be like a female Evel Knievel, and it shows her jumping over a vat of acid filled with robots or something, and she's doing all this crazy stuff. In the midst of all these awful, crazy, wild things, it's like she wipes front to back. And that kind of made me chuckle. But that was the funniest thing in like 3 episodes. And as you can tell, yeah, it's not that funny, but I mean that one. And of course she tries out this robot's wing wang, and it like rips her in two. I mean, and that's the kind of humor.
We've all been there.
And there's parts of her hanging from different parts of the room. It's pretty, like, they try to be shocking and gross, and it's really not funny. All right, so that was Farzar, and then
75 thumbs down.
Yeah, Strange New Worlds. So I think I'd mentioned that before. I finished it, and like I said, I really enjoyed it. And I told our friend Double R about it, because he is kind of a Star Trek person. He appreciates that sort of thing, and he was telling me, he said, definitely if you want to watch Strange New Worlds, because it's supposed to be a prequel to Star Trek, into the original series, he goes, you'll really get something out of, even more out of the new series, if you'll go back and watch like maybe the first episode that had Pike. The pilot originally had Pike in it with Dr. Spock, and some of the characters like Nurse Chapel was instead Lieutenant something or another.
Was that the Menagerie?
And then of course eventually they came back later in the series and had the Menagerie 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And there's one episode called The Balance of Terror. And again, he said that really ties into some of the stories that they have in the first series. So you'll really kind of appreciate both more,
Since you're talking Star Trek too, who just passed away.
Yeah, Uhura, which God rest, she was great, gorgeous woman, and just a great actor and groundbreaking. I mean, she was one of the first like main characters that was black in TV. It was the first
interracial kiss.
Interracial kiss was her and Spock. I mean, Kirk. So yeah. And
apparently MLK asked her to keep doing the show. She was going to leave after that first season or whatever. And I was like, wow. Can you just imagine?
Yeah, I mean that's really, yeah. I mean, it's yeah. So that's a really what a life, And she got to be like. She worked with NASA for a while.
She recruited astronauts.
Yeah. So that's just, what a great life. What a really interesting individual she was. So rest in peace, ma'am. Her, Nichelle,
Nichols.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
We'll always remember the fan dance as well.
Oh, well, of course. I mean, she was gorgeous. I mean, beautiful woman. But yeah.
All right. So any more shows?
Probably, but I'm going to stop there.
What?
Yeah. It's on you, bro.
You got to get them all out.
Yeah, that's shows. And movies, I got some stuff.
Stranger Things, season 4.
Yeah, which I'd already watched all those.
So I really enjoyed it.
Good. Yeah, I told you. It was kind of like a return to form. Yeah. So
I might have liked it more than a lot of the other seasons.
Oh, definitely. The first season was great. This season was great. The other ones, meh.
I didn't mind the hopping around so much between the different casts.
That I kind of whinged about a little bit.
But maybe because I was prepared for it.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I still liked it, but just all the jumping around got a little frustrating. But,
I could have done without the whole Russia plotline, though.
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Or that could have been its own episode and just like, here it is.
Yeah.
It was good, but it was the B storyline or whatever you want to say.
Right.
I enjoyed it. Of course, there's going to be another rise in the popularity of the name Eddie. based off of me and this show. So, of course, that's pretty much what my life is like.
Yeah, I ended
It's
up
all
liking
D&D and metal.
I ended up liking that character, and it was cool that they had him busting out some Metallica on top of the trailer. But if it hadn't been Metallica, what would you have preferred that he would have played, or you're like, nope, that was just perfect?
Okay, I will say that I would have rather had some Megadeth.
Ah,
Why? Because Metallica doesn't need that bone thrown to them.
right.
They could have given it to anybody else, because I think Master of Puppets has seen like a 600% increase in streaming sales or something like that. So it would have kind of been nice. It's kind of like if they put Gen Con in a show, like, we're going to Gen Con. Okay, Gen Con can get a 600% boost. But if you put like the Long Con in your show, it'd be like, oh my God, we've hit the lottery.
Yeah. Well, and that's like would have been cool if like, honestly, when I think of the old days and the really original metal acts, if it had been Judas Priest or Iron Maiden, Iron Maiden.
I could have gone for the Iron Maiden because he's Eddie.
Yeah.
And Judas Priest, as long as you don't play the hits.
Right, yeah.
So, but what you would have got, it would have been like breaking the law.
Breaking the law. Yeah.
But I would have liked to have seen Megadeth or one of the other big four, put some Slayer on there.
Yeah.
Rain of Blood.
But this was supposed to be in like 87, so I'm like, even like,
oh yeah.
But so I'm like, wait a minute. I guess Master of Puppets when did that come out? Because I'm wondering. I could swear, because sometimes I've noticed they'll have music on there and they're off by a little bit, like, but
it had to be about
around
87 or 88. Yeah,
Okay,
I don't think that one was too much of because I think the first one came out in 84.
Well, I remember, what's the one that's got all the
Ride the Lightning?
Yeah, Ride the Lightning was really popular when I was in high school, and I'm trying to think of the time frame, but yeah. So
85.
Yeah. So I guess because I remember I went to Master Puppets when they came to Shreveport at the Hirsch Coliseum, where they normally do kettle auctions and tractor pulls, but so the sound quality is not great, as they even were like, they were a little angry about it, but yeah, that's when they just got Jason Newsted, I think.
Wow.
And because it was right before that album. But anyway,
right after that album.
Master
if it
Puppets?
was before Master, yeah. See, I used to be a big Metallica fan, so Jason doesn't come in until after Master of the Puppets. Oh. But he did some Master of the Puppets touring. I think he went to Japan.
Yeah. So well, Jason Newsted was there, and I could have swore it was Master of Puppets, but because what album was after that? I don't even.
Justice.
Oh shit! Is that where you have the scales and the statues breaking and falling over?
That's the one that I saw.
Maybe that was it. I don't know. Anyway, who knows? Whatever. Anyway,
well, Metallica will come up again in the podcast here.
Interesting, but yeah. So overall, Stranger Things. What do you give it?
Oh, it was really good. I go with an 8 out of 10. Mm-hmm. And I will say that this time I gave myself some breaks in between. I didn't watch an episode and another episode and another episode. I purposefully, and because I was stuck recovering, it wasn't like, I'll go walk off and do this or that. It was pretty much like, let me watch like some Archer or some Seinfeld or...
So do you feel like that kind of helped to break it up? Yeah. And that was me anymore. I try not to gorge. And sometimes anymore, some of these damn networks won't let you... like we had to wait for the boys to go.
Binge through on the boys, though.
Yeah.
There's shows that I love to binge them, but that one, because every show was almost an hour and a half or something. They were movies, basically.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like, let me take a little break for something else, and I think that helped. And I spread it out more over like 3 days or something.
Yeah. Remind me afterwards, though, one more thing about Stranger Things.
Oh, and one more thing.
Oh, no, not talking about it on the podcast.
Oh, you guys are in trouble. All right, what else did I watch? Okay, The Rehearsal. Do you have HBO Max?
I might, if that ex-girlfriend hasn't cut it off yet. I'll have to check it out.
Do you remember the show Nathan for You on Comedy Central?
I've heard of it.
Okay, so I think it's Nathan Fielder, the comedian. In this show... Like if you have a problem, the first episode, for example, is this guy has lied to his friends about his education level. I think he said he had a master's degree when he's only got a bachelor's or something. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
But he's like, what we're going to do is we're going to take you and put you in a situation where you guys like to go to this bar and do trivia night. So they recreated the whole bar on a set, and then they had people acting like customers. They had people acting like his friend. Like, okay, if your friend says this, then what would you do? They practiced the whole thing. It was a rehearsal for him doing something in real life.
Okay.
So that episode was pretty funny.
Okay.
It was pretty good. It was interesting.
Okay.
And then so I was going to go like, you guys need to check that show out. Well, I watched the second episode and I was like, meh. And then I watched the third episode and I was like, well, that was a little better. So I have to give you the mixed bag review on that one. That's kind of pending. If you liked Nathan For You, this might be right up your alley. I was not a fan of that.
Never saw it. It sounds like I didn't miss anything. So it sounds like definitely maybe check out the first episode of Rehearsal, and then after that, maybe
and then
not.
we just have to wait and see where it goes.
Yeah.
Something I can tell you that I did see where it went, Solar Opposites. Did you know the new season's out?
I did not know that. So yeah, I'm excited.
Now
Or
you know.
I hope I'm excited.
You're not.
Aw.
So
So they laid an egg.
I can't remember if it was Rick and Morty season 4 or 5 where it was like, hey, I like Rick and Morty, but that was kind of a turd.
Yeah.
Season 3 is kind of a turd.
Oh, that's a shame. And I'm gonna guess there's not much of The Wall.
There is, and even that is not very good.
Wow.
That's what makes it that much worse.
Because the show has always been kind of hit or miss with us, but
we've loved The Wall
we wish The
parts.
Wall was its own damn series. You know, I would watch that. I'd punch people to get to them. It's like,
So
you know,
even the Wall part of this, I was like, ugh.
wow.
There's a few interesting things in it, but it's like, ugh. So I mean, I'm not saying don't watch it, but definitely have those lowered expectations. And it was not nearly as funny as the previous seasons.
Well, what a shame.
The Wall was not nearly as good. So
That's a heartbreaker, man. Because I was,
It's a bummer.
Because when you said, "Wait a minute, Solar Opposites are back," I mean, this is a video thing. I'm genuinely excited, but that's a shame.
yeah, when I saw it, I was like, yay, I'll be able to, kind of binge them all right now. And even like that's been something that I've been watching with my son.
Mm-hmm.
We could be like, fix your sandwiches and then come on out and we'll watch some Solar Opposites
Yeah.
while we eat lunch or
Young
what have you.
Bond. Yeah, over. Yeah.
He walked off on it.
Wow. Yeah.
He watched a couple of episodes and then he was like, meh. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, there you go. Because he did
Yeah.
the same thing in Rick and Morty where he was like, I didn't laugh one time during that episode. And it was like, yeah, okay, if you don't even like it, that means something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, check it out, but take it with a grain of salt, and I'm sure there'll be another season, and maybe they'll come back to form, but yeah, I wasn't a fan of the season 3. All right, what else did I watch? The Anarchists on HBO. So this seems like it should be right up your libertarian alley.
Uh-huh.
So these people who don't want to pay any taxes.
Yeah. Sound like.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah.
And then this whole anarchy thing is its own ball of wax. Yeah. But they moved down to Acapulco.
Now, I mean, is this something made?
No, this is real, true
Oh.
facts, man.
Okay.
So they moved down to Acapulco in Mexico,
Okay.
and they're kind of like have a anarchist hub.
Like a compound or something, or
It's more like a neighborhood, or we tend to live down here, but
Okay.
it's not like they're on the creche compound or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Nobody in or out.
you
They're scattered about the place, and then they have it's like Anarchapulco. There's their convention that they have down there,
oh, they have a kid. Wow.
and then naturally that's going to appeal to you and me, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there was another guy, what was it, Internet Historian, I think it was the one that had done a bunch of there was a Furry Con and Dash Con and all this, and it just showed, he showed how rotten they were, and I highly recommend you check those out. But it's extra interesting as an event planner, I think. Somebody that does conventions, you're like, oh, all the bullets that we dodge.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the story of that, and kind of like, well, this guy was running the con, and then he got kicked out. And all that, it's almost like Metallica or something, where it's like, and then Dave Mustaine got kicked out of the band. He has to do his own thing, and somebody starts another convention to go along with it, like after it. That's kind of like, this anarchy convention is all corporate. We're the real anarchists. It's like, oh man,
Too funny.
and
Wow.
I guess Acapulco is now like the murder capital.
Oh gosh, yeah. And it's a shame that used to be people used to love to go there, and it was So I'll tell you this: when I went to Costa Rica, everywhere we went, there were like Jeeps with M60s on it and guys holding M16s in like military attire and mirrored sunglasses. And at first you kind of go, what's all this? But then you realize they're here to keep the cartels and the thugs and what do they call M13 or whatever from ruining one of the last places where Americans go. You got to understand like the number one moneymaker in Mexico is oil. After that is money that illegals send home, you know, back there for their friends and family or whatever. Here's some money I'm sending home, which is sad to say. I mean, that's their number two source of income. But then right after that is tourism. And used to people would go to Acapulco. They would go to, Cabo San Lucas. That's what I meant, Cabo San Lucas. I went to Cabo San Lucas. And there used to be some other places I can't think of now. But all those other places, there was enough like I remember right before we went to Cabo, like the week before that, there were 4 guys found hanging from an overpass near Acapulco, just with their hands tied behind their back.
Game shows in the 80s, that was always the fabulous prize.
The sunny Acapulco.
4 days and 3 nights.
Yeah, and not anymore because that's what a shame that they can't control this crap any better than that down there. But like all the fentanyl coming across the border and crap, I mean, it's killing people every day. It's awful. But anyway, that's a whole nother kettle of fish. But
some of the group got rich off of Bitcoin down there.
Uh-huh.
So there's definitely a have and have not. There's kind of the wealthy anarchist and then the
dirt poor
ones. And you're like, wow. And then, you know, what anarchy means to you and me being different things. And so it's all, it's kind of crazy. And then, of course, there has to be a murder involved.
Oh, wow.
So then it's like, who did that? Who was behind all that? Was it the cartels? Was it this other guy that was basically a PTSD nut job down there?
Oh, wow.
So that's what's going on right now. And so far, I've really enjoyed the show.
A quick aside while we're talking about such things, kind of, do you know that right now in Puerto Rico, you don't pay any capital tax? The local government will tax you 4% of your income. That's it. You don't pay any. So
when's your flight?
Well, let's just say I'm looking at some maybe apartment down there because as long as you dwell there 6 months or whatever.
The long con is mine.
Well, no. I'm only gonna spend half the year in Puerto Rico, but I'm actually entertained that. I mean, come on, man. You know, I mean, I literally give away half my paycheck every time I get paid. It really sucks.
Okay, well, living down there for 6 months, does that get you out of Texas taxes, or are they like, nah, son, you were up here for 6 months?
No. I mean, if you call that your residency, you live there for 6 months out of the year, you're a Puerto Rican.
Well, we don't have an income tax anyway. It would just be federal tax that you're
exactly. And that's what you're dodging.
Yeah.
So, I think that's great that they're getting 4%. And hey, there are some Bitcoin billionaires that have moved down there. And I'm really proud of them. People go, he's rich, white American, whatever. Well, they're like opening up all these charities and they're giving back. And like the one guy's a Bitcoin billionaire. He's taken a hotel that was just left abandoned and he's spruced it up, and they're doing things to help down there. They're not just coming down there to abuse them or whatever. And they are getting 4% from these people, so that goes strictly to them and their local government. But they had the right idea. The guy that came in as their governor or whatever, he like fired half of the bloated government that was inefficient, and now with what's left, he's running it just fine. It's doing great, you know. So but anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah. So anyway, Anarchy sounds cool. I'm gonna check it out.
It's been pretty good on HBO.
Cool.
And I think that's all of our
but
TV.
Is that the same as HBO Plus or whatever you were talking about?
Yeah. If you get your HBO Max or what have you,
or whatever, it's all the same critter. I haven't checked, but I probably still have
streaming.
Yep. Check that. That does sound cool.
All right. How about some movies?
Movies. Here we go.
And I know we're already well into this podcast, folks. Just bear with us.
Yeah, we've missed y'all.
You missed us. We missed you.
Yeah. So
Matt tried to kill me. Have a little sympathy.
All right, Stalker, 1979. It's based on Roadside Picnic, which is a book I talked about here on a previous podcast. It's very loosely based off of Roadside Picnic. It's a real art house stuff. Not the best reception back when it first came out, but these days it gets a crap ton of accolades from critics, etc. It's part of the Criterion Collection. That's always a sign of hoity-toity, ooh la la artiness or whatever, like the Seven Samurai, the Criterion Collection. The movie had a number of hiccups, almost didn't get made. A number of crew members, including the director, died of the same lung cancer. The filming locations were toxic. There was like brown snow in the summer, the water from this one plant was real funky looking, which looked great. Like, hey, we don't have to recreate this set. We'll just find a place in Russia that has this kind of funkiness, but then wading through that crap for scenes and stuff and getting in there with the camera and directing. Yeah, I mean, a number of people died of this same sort of lung cancer. So they wonder, because there was like this weird brown snow dropping around him at one point. I mean, that's just bizarre. Yeah, but it's a really interesting movie. I enjoyed it, but I will say it was a different kind of movie. I mean, this guy's not afraid to have some long shot where the three main characters are sitting there not talking for like 2 minutes. I mean, so it's real, you know, it's an art house kind of, you know. So I mean, your mileage may vary. If you're like, this sucks, don't blame me. But it's something that I wanted to check out because I had heard some interesting. It's kind of popped up in my feed, so to speak, or whatever. And then the other day, we dusted off Fury Road, Mad Max.
We?
Yeah. And yeah,
Not me.
yeah, we're not you and I, but yeah.
Who?
Yeah. Lindsay and I had watched it.
Oh.
Yeah. It's
Our head designer.
That's right. And it's been a long time. We went to see that back in 2015 when it came out. And so you wonder, like, well, why did it take so long to make another one? Well, it's kind of like what happened with, what's his name? The guy, Peter Jackson. It seems like why he wasn't going to be the guy to do The Hobbit, because there was these disputes over money or whatever with the studio. Well, same sort of deal, you know, Fury Road, Mad Max, it did fairly well. And I guess Miller had some problems getting his money. But that year...
He's getting up there, too.
Yeah, yeah. So it won... It was nominated for 10 Academy Awards that year. So it's like the first time in my thought that a movie that was really more one of these action, shoot-'em-up, bing-bang movies got nominated for that many, you know, awards. But I'm glad that we're in an age where they can look respectfully at these kind of movies and not turn it to
Well, the other thing was, it probably wasn't Best Actor.
No.
It was probably Best Special Effects and Best Score,
Best editing.
Choreography.
It actually won for Best Editing. And the ironic part of that was, instead of using some Hollywood professional editor, I want to think, don't quote me on this one, but like Miller, I think, tapped his wife, was like, hey, hon, you want to edit a movie or whatever? But it was the woman that did it. I don't think she'd ever done it before, or it wasn't her thing. So it was just interesting that her editing was really good. I mean, she won an Oscar for it. So maybe sometimes it's good to have maybe not the person that's supposed to be ooh la la or whatever the best or something. But anyway, so you figure the last one was 2015. Like, good Lord, they're going to make another one, and it's coming out in 2024. And it's going to be what's his face, who plays Thor? And and then he's going to play Immortan Joe, I guess, because it's going to like a prequel.
Oh, yeah.
And then Cutie Pie McSugarplum will play Furiosa. You know,
I loved Fury Road.
Is
it Himdall?
Chris Hemsley or
Hemsley
or something like that, or
something like
Hellman's I don't know.
But he's a bit too handsome to be Immortan Joe, don't you think?
Yeah, but maybe they're going to ugly him up a little bit or something. Plus, half the time he had that thing over his face, and then, but this was, yeah, and then in the
I guarantee you, he's not going to have the thing over his face the whole time.
Right, and then the other thing is, this gal, I've seen pictures of her. I couldn't conjure her name. A lot of these people that are the latest pop star or some of these new up and coming movies, I have no idea who they are. I'm that old man, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, she didn't really look like Therese Sharon, but then, like you said, Chris, what's his face doesn't look like. So, I mean, this is supposed to be maybe a way, you know, when they were significantly younger.
And keep in mind, it's a Furiosa movie.
Yeah, not a Mad Max movie.
So even the Mad Max rights are probably still tied up somewhere. He might have been able to go like, well, I just did Furiosa. I can use that stuff.
Well, I don't think it was anything to do with not being able to use Mad Max. I think this is just they wanted to shine a light on a strong, you know, female character or whatever. But about some interesting more asides about Fury Road back in 2015, he first had the idea for it in 1987. So that's like how long it was in turnaround hell and Hollywood crap. And plus, at one point, they were going to use Mel Gibson, and then Mel Gibson did that stuff, and he was, you know, Hollywood persona non grata for a while there. And so that kind of threw a hiccup. You know, at one point, they were considering Eminem for Mad Max. Eminem. thankfully they went
Could
with.
have gone 12 miles.
Yeah. But I'm glad they did Tom Hardy. I think he was a good Mad Max. I think he was great. And so anyway. But yeah, so that's that as far as, there were probably some other things, but those are the standouts.
I love The Furious Road. It was a great movie.
Oh, great movie, yeah. We loved it.
Speaking of great movies, one that we love that I watched again during the time of the COVID, The Thing.
Oh.
That was a perfect movie to watch while you're suffering from an invasive virus.
Right?
For some reason, Hulu was on fire. They were like, would you like to watch The Thing? Kind of like the movie recommendations that they give you or whatever. They're like, would you like to watch The Thing? Yeah, I would. Would you like to watch Tombstone? Well, yeah. Hey, would you like to watch Goodfellas? I'm like, you're reading my mind. All these classic movies
those are
that
great
I love
movies.
so much.
And I was going to say, didn't we watch Tombstone with Cody because he had never seen it?
Yeah.
And then maybe, did we watch The Thing with him?
Maybe.
Or I know we watched Them or They or whatever. The
Yeah,
one
They
with the
Live.
glass. They Live. Yeah, yeah.
That's what it was.
That's what it was, yeah.
But I was watching, here's some amusing anecdotes or what have you. I was watching The Thing with my dog. And at the very beginning, where they're in the helicopter trying to shoot the dog, she is watching that as intently as anything I've ever seen. She's just like, what's going on? And then about the time the dog makes it into camp, she's like, all right. She goes back to dog mode instead of like undercover investigative or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So that was pretty cool. I was thinking about, what was it? Outpost.
13.
Yeah, the game that we played,
game
that
that we
was a lot of
played.
fun.
Yeah,
Throw
a lot.
that out again. Had a lot of fun with that. And I think it's been reissued, so it's
Yeah.
not super expensive.
So I'm thinking about going and getting it because that was too funny. I'd wanted to throw our old buddy So a bone, and I'd seen it a million times. Every time I go to his game store, and I thought, you know what, I'm probably going to grab it. And I got it for whatever the proper price was. Sat on it for a couple of years. We played it one time. It'd been in the closet. And then next thing we found it was like going for $300 and $400 on the internet. I'm like, whoa, I sold it anyway. But now it's been reissued, thankfully.
Yeah. So that's a thing with me and Matt a lot too. It's like who was going to break and buy it first.
Yeah, because we both looked at each other a couple of times like, we both want that. And we're like, But that's the sad fact is, Eddie's got a closet full of board games. I do too. And some of them have never even been played. And it's just, it gets kind of aggravating. I love board games, but it's just finding people and the time to play. Adults.
But The Thing, since I think we've mentioned it before.
Oh, yeah.
But here's one thing that I don't think we've talked about. The Thing, when you originally saw it, did you see it at the movie theater or did you see it on like ABC movie Sunday night?
No, it came on cable when I was a kid living in Warringsport. And I'm telling you, I remember like the stuff that used to scare people in the 50s. Like I remember as a kid staying up late, eating popcorn, watching Frankenstein, Werewolf, Dracula, and just laughing and giggling and eating popcorn and whatever. I watched The Thing as a kid, and that literally scared the shit out of me. That movie, because in my mind, like that's real, that could happen, you know. And it's like you hear about they're finding new life forms and things as the polar caps are melting or whatever, and things are being exposed, and like they found some worms that were frozen in the permafrost or something for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and then the things started moving, you know, and they're still alive, and who knows what organisms they might have in them, and it does make you kind of go, whoa, wait a minute, you know. But yeah, no, as a kid, that movie scared the crap out of me.
Okay, so what is the ending to the movie? What's the last thing?
And that's kind of brilliant, is that they left it kind of open where, I mean, you don't necessarily know what happens. One of them has the organism in it, and when the other one dozes off from the, you know, when you're dying of hypothermia, you're usually going to drift off to sleep and never wake up. So that's when the thing attacks the other guy. And you figure when the rescue people come, it gets spread across the world and the world's snuffed out. That's one mental process. Or the other one is...
No. How does it... The actual, like,
actual
if you're
ending
watching
is,
the movie,
yeah.
what's going on? What's the last thing that happens?
So there's that guy, great actor, I can't think of his name, and Kurt Russell, and they're laying there looking at each other, and they're like, well, you know.
Is that David Keith? Does that sound right?
It
Keith,
might
David,
be.
David
Yeah,
Keith?
because isn't he the same one that's in They Live, you know, where he's like, just put the damn glasses on. He's like, I will not. I will fight you and punch you and kick you before I'll put those glasses on. Yeah, because John Carpenter does that too. So John Carpenter apparently likes him, which he is a great actor, and he's got a great voice. Because I think he's done some voice acting in recent years.
Charles,
yeah. But Charles was the other guy that worked in the kitchen, I think.
maybe.
Yeah, but anyway, I can't think of his character's name, sadly. But Kurt Russell and him are sitting there at the end, and the light fades where the place is burning around them, and the rescue people are going to be coming, but it's going to be another month or something. Like, who's going to be here alive? Or we'll just, if they're both humans, they're both about to freeze to death, and that's the end of it. No one will ever know. Oops. But yeah, it just fades to black. So they leave it open for you to decide how it ends.
Put a button in that.
Yeah.
Because when I saw the movie originally, it was like the ABC Sunday movie. And they edited it in on TV, a scene where the dog runs out to the helicopter. Like the team, there's finally a team coming in or whatever, and that dog is still alive and runs out to the helicopter.
Oh, well, then that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I was like, I was watching it again, and I don't know how many times I've seen the movie. Plenty.
Sure.
But this just seemed to be the first time where I was thinking about it. I was like, where's the ending with the dog?
Yeah.
Well, apparently that ending only happens in the TV movie edition.
Interesting.
And that's something that I think they added on to make it more clear, to make it obvious to you or whatever. It's like, here's an ending. There's no mystery anymore.
Which I hate that, because I love when you can leave it open to decide that, you know what, I want to think they're both human and they're both going to, die here, which is a shame, but that's the end of this thing until,
But I like that one too, where you're like, what, all the stuff that they didn't really matter.
Yeah.
Because life finds a way.
Yeah.
That dog was still getting out.
Yeah. And it's like, where has the dog been that whole time? Oh,
but
well.
Back to the actual ending.
Yeah.
McReady has been making these Molotov cocktails the whole time.
Yeah.
So then he hands the one over to the other character, and he takes a drink out of it. What's Molotov cocktail?
Yeah,
so it's got to be an alien.
Yeah. Ah.
So think about that. So if you haven't watched The Thing recently, maybe go back and check that out, and keep that in mind. I don't think they have solidly said one way or the other.
Yeah.
But that is a possible way to know.
Interesting.
It's kind of like, what is it, Inception, where it's like the top is spinning at the end, but you never see if it falls or not because it cuts. It's like, well, some movies are better where you're like, interpret it however you want.
That's like the famous, infamous ending to Sopranos, where Don't Stop Believing starts playing, and they're pulling back, and they're just a happy family eating at the little Italian restaurant. But a guy comes walking up, and he looks a little suspicious or something.
The members only jacket guy.
Yeah, and people say like, that's the guy coming up who's probably fixing to cap him. Maybe, but we don't know because they fade to black.
They actually have given kind of an answer on that now.
Well, really? Because for a long time the guy wouldn't answer. Yeah.
So you want to hear it?
Of course,
out there in listening land.
Yeah, you might want to.
So the new answer is that he's dead.
Okay.
That was, it goes black because he's dead.
Oh wow.
And there was all the like bell ringing at the end. They're like, every time a bell rang, you saw from his point of view. So David Chase or whatever, that was the guy behind it, the creator, said, yeah, pretty much. But I always liked the thing where he was alive. It's like, you just don't get to see it because everybody wants to see Tony get his comeuppance.
Yeah.
And it's like, nope.
You don't get that. Yeah. Too funny.
Anyway, so interpret that as you will, but they kind of came out with a official answer.
Yeah.
For what it's worth.
Well, that's like, I feel bad for people like my friend Bobby, God rest his soul, that watch Lost from beginning to end. And I was like, you're still watching? He's like, well, damn it, I want to know how it ends. And in the end, what did they do to their valued viewers or whatever? They just left it ambiguous. And after all those years of watching to see, what's this about? What's going on? And you still don't know. And I mean, I'd probably be kicking the TV. Yeah.
Because of that, though, I let a lot of shows go by or let them even finish before I watch them.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm not getting sucked in on that.
Yeah, I never watched it, and I'm glad I didn't, because that would have just aggravated me. But that's like when I started watching Breaking Bad, you were like, God, I envy you. And I'm like, what do you mean? And you're like, well, there were these cliffhanger episodes that were so good. And then the darn AMC does this thing where they'll bifurcate a season, and you had to wait how long? 3-6 months to see the next part. And you're sitting there going, what happened to so-and-so? And so lucky me, I'd be like, well, I'm about to go to bed. Oh, hell no, I'm not. Let me check out that next episode. I got to find out what happened to this one or that one or whatever. It's kind of nice when you can, just watch them at your own speed. It's kind of.
And then I also watched Ex Machina. Have you seen that one?
I watched the first, because isn't that on HBO or something?
It's a movie.
It's a movie, yeah. And it seemed like I watched the first 30 minutes of it, but I don't know.
So basically, you could kind of put in like Zuckerberg into this or whatever, but basically like the head of Google type thing, because his was search engines, has created an AI and put it into a robot body.
Yeah.
And then he brings another guy in to kind of give it the Turing test and see, like, do you think it's sentient?
Yeah.
And that one, is that jiving up with what you're remembering?
No. I mean, I started to watch this.
I thought
Definitely.
it was pretty interesting. It's
Cool.
slow. It's definitely not like, and then they
Yeah.
break out the M60 and
Yeah, it's like, and that's where I think that I might give another chance, but it's one of those things where it was just, I think, so kind of slow, and the beginning is not anything like, oh, whatever, that I basically didn't.
But I enjoyed it. I give that one like a 7 or 8 in there too. It's one of those suspense type movies though.
Yeah,
Like, ooh, is it this or is it that? Could it be this?
Yeah.
And it's probably one of those ones that you can only watch once. You can kind of only fool yourself one time with it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, once you know the big reveal, it's like, oh well.
kind of like Sixth Sense. I think you can watch it twice.
Yeah.
You watch it the first time because you don't
Then
know,
go,
and then you watch it
and
the
watch
second
again
time and
to
go.
see all the places I missed the clues. Yeah.
But this one, no, it's pretty spelled out for you. It's somebody might be like, that's my favorite movie ever, but it's definitely like once you know all the where it's going, once the story has been told,
you're good.
it's hard to try and forget it and come back to it again.
Interesting. Yeah.
So that one was pretty good if you need stuff to watch.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, we're still going. We're just on to video games.
Oh wow. Well, as usual, I've kind of been off video games now for months, sadly, but I've had the itch. I tell you, the other day I was this close to wanting to break out 76 because me and my nephew were talking about it, and I was telling him about all the little expansions they've done over time, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I love 76." And he goes back to it. Like I told him, we went back to it a few times.
Yeah, I've done all the expansion stuff as far as I know.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a couple times where I think one time I was like, "Hey, did you know they did the new Brothers Steel?" And you were like, "What?" Yeah. So,
But that's probably been a year now.
has it? Yeah, time flies. Good gosh.
And they've done other things, but it's more like, here's some seasons. We didn't actually add in content, or we didn't actually add in plot. We just added in, like, if you go over here now, you can kill 5 of these and get that.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I knew.
obviously I got to talk about
Sekiro. Yeah.
about 20 episodes ago. I said I couldn't really get into it. Probably try it again later, but right now it wasn't for me. So now, 20 episodes in the future, I did try it again. I do like it. It has some really interesting bosses. It has an interesting fighting style, whereas in Dark Souls and Elden Ring, you're trying to duck and dodge out of the way a lot. This one, you're pretty much like, you've got to be aggressive. You got to get up in their face and stay in their face instead of like, try and move away, try and do this. Nope. Attack, 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 deflect, 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 attack, attack, attack. So, but you got to be in there for the whole thing. A really good story, maybe one of the best stories out of those games.
Really?
Which, in a way, doesn't say that much.
Yeah, because not
Because
much
those games
story
don't.
to this game.
So this one's definitely got the most
Story.
point A to B. Here is the story. Here's what's going on.
Oh wow.
So there is a little prince in feudal Japan who has the power of immortality in his blood. You are his shinobi. And so he gives you the power of his blood so that you're sort of immortal along the same lines as like Dark Souls. You get killed and you get back up. But you've lost your stuff, or you've got to start back at a checkpoint and all the enemies are back. So that's not the greatest immortality.
Typical Dark Souls type thing,
Yeah.
Start back at a checkpoint.
One thing that I really liked about it, though, was that at the very beginning, in typical FromSoft games, you've got to die. The first boss that you come across or whatever usually kills you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to think, what is it in Elden Ring, the Grafted Scion or
Yeah,
whatever?
that weird crab creature thing comes and beats the living crap out of you.
Yeah. Some boss is going to kill you to unlock the death mechanic.
Yeah.
So one of the main bosses, one of the main protagonists through the story, that's the one that kills you at the beginning.
Oh wow.
You then, in the middle of the game, fight him again. So at the beginning, he's impossible. He's just way, way, way beyond you. In the middle of the game, he's challenging, but you can beat him that's how you've got to beat him to continue the game. So he's there, and he's really a hard boss and a fun boss. At the very end, he's part of the last boss that you fight, and he's just a speed bump. You just smoke him.
Wow.
And he's designed like that though.
It's not just like you've progressed in your abilities and your gear and your plays should be up to par. That's you finally can beat him. No, they actually made him like just a chump.
Well, but I mean that still ties into it. He's
Yeah.
still a threat, but to show you how much you have improved, then he's a little bit more watered down in areas. So I was like, that's great. That's one of the fantastic things if you could do that in an RPG.
Yeah.
But players don't want enemies to get away.
Right.
And, you know, if you're like, and that guy runs away at the end, they'd be like,
oh yeah,
you're the worst.
Yeah, I've run adventures that were written. It wasn't my writing, where like the bad guy's supposed to have an opportunity to get away. Players hate that crap, and it's a shame because when they did get to fight him later though, oh, it tastes like sweet candy in their mouth because they're like, wow, if I get to put that jerk down, I'm like, see, isn't that great? But boy, yeah, players get pissed. I had a player one time that pretty much just crapped all over the campaign, just wrecked the campaign because he was just so pissed off that I let a bad guy get away. And I'm like, good Lord. And it wasn't like I did something like he just disappears. I mean, you know, it was a thing where he had a chance maybe to try to catch him, but it got away. Man, I mean, it went off. It went bad. So,
but as a storytelling device,
I think that's great.
It could be really cool, and it is very, very well done in Sekiro, where when you get to fight him at the end, and you're like, I am freaking smoking this guy.
Yeah.
It's just, and they go through and they kind of illustrate that, like at the very first battle, you haven't been fighting lately, so when he goes to reach for his sword, he misses. He kind of has to, you know, kind of like the old samurai thing where he just reaches down and whips out his sword. This one he kind of misses at first and has to look and find where it is to draw his sword. And then the second time he gets it and has to kind of do it in two motions in that second battle. But in the last battle, he's just like, whatever, man, I'm here to kick all of the ass. He just draws it in that smooth, clean one motion that you expect. And then you just knock the poop out of that boss just to show you how far you've come, how much you've improved. And it was like that, just freaking so well done.
That's cool.
So if you like all these FromSoft games, you still might not like this one. It's very different fighting style.
People, like that's one thing. Part of the reason I didn't connect that well with the game at first because I like generally more of a in-your-face kind of a play style, and so all that dodging and ducking and rolling is like, ugh. But you know, I might like this one after all. So, especially it sounds really well done.
So a really fun story. The basic storyline is the kid has the power of immortality that he can grant to other people.
Oh, wow.
So, of course, people want it. And at this time, Ashina, which is I'm trying to think, like province or territory that they're in, the state is being attacked by basically the state of Japan as they're trying to do the unification in feudal Japan. So all that's going on. They're getting invaded. So the rulers definitely are like, we need the power of immortality. That's the only way we're going to be able to turn them back. We're one tiny state against the country. So the kid who has the immortality powers is like, no, this is wrong. Nobody should have this power. It always corrupts people.
Yeah.
And there is actually another case of it where somebody's had it and been corrupted and basically turned into a demon.
Oh, wow.
So it's really well done. That's the storyline right there is, do you help him or do you not help him? Do you think there should be the immortality or not?
Wow.
So really, really fun with that. Really good storyline. And I say check it out. One of the other interesting things is it hasn't gone down in price. It's still one of those, like, it was $60 when it came out, and it's $60 today if you go buy it.
Wow.
So I was like, yeah, that's an indicator that people are enjoying it. All right. So that's what I have to say. Oh, actually, one more thing about that, since I had said Metallica will come up yet again.
Yeah.
For the last boss, I was like, this is going to take forever to get good, because I was going along really well in that game and I had it down, and then somebody gave me COVID and I couldn't play for 2 weeks. So after that, my skills were rusty. I was like, so I got to come back and build up all these skills and then try and beat the last boss.
Why am I hearing the Rocky theme song in my,
Or I can do the good old bait out a jump, hit him, bait out a jump, hit him. It's going to take forever, but it will work. So that's how I did. That's how I do. And I listened to Metallica, starting with Kill 'Em All and going forward to, like, which album is next? Da, 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 da. Well, I would have already known, but I definitely know right now. I went from Kill 'Em All till the middle of Load.
Wow.
Which, what is that? The 6th album, maybe?
Yeah, wow. Which one had, give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire?
That may be Reload.
Yeah.
I won't swear to it because I definitely, when you get past the Black Album, I'm done. I was done with them at the Black Album.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, will I be able to beat this before I get into the stuff that I'll really hate?
It's stupid.
So,
they sold out.
I think it took about 5.5 hours or something just fighting that boss.
Wow.
Over a period of days, of course.
Jeez. But I love the story because I've experienced that where you said like you were like frustrated, you couldn't beat him, you went to bed, you woke up the next morning, you know, refreshed, relaxed, you went and you like beat him just like that.
And that's what I did this time too.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you've got to program yourself overnight.
Yeah, there's something to it because I know there's been times I've been stuck on Elden Ring or stuck on, you know, one of these other games like the third Dark Souls or whatever, where I'm like, I'm so pissed off, and I throw the control down at 11 o'clock at night, and I've just fought him 25 times in a row, and I'm just getting pissed off. Go to bed, wake up the next morning, look at the game, and go, why not? Turn it on, load up, beat the boss in 30 seconds. You're like, well, how was this so easy today and I couldn't do that last night? You know, it's just crazy.
And if you'd like to watch that epic battle, it's on our YouTube channel.
Really?
I uploaded it.
Well, good deal.
So it's on there.
Yeah,
you can
I'm
check it out.
I'm gonna check that out. Sounds cool.
And if you need some help, if you're stuck on Sekiro, that is a way that you can do it. The low skill, no class way. Takes longer, but it's the safer method. I had no healing left at the end.
Wow.
I was like, oh crap. If he hits me one more time, it's over with. And I probably needed at least 5 more hits on him.
Wow.
And yeah, lucky.
You got it.
All right. You got nothing for video games, right?
No.
Talk about 76 a little.
Yeah, I just mentioned
The episode that went on forever.
I was to say that, you know, my nephew Austin, everybody saw the picture on Facebook where he and I went to the hibachi. He came in to see his grandmother because my mom's.
Were you in Shreveport or Bossier?
We were in Shreveport, and so mom's over in Bossier now, but she was in Shreveport at Piermont. And I remember somebody was talking about the Tokyo. And back in this weird area, it's like back off in there behind there's the auto mile there on Burt Coons or whatever. Back in there used to be a country tavern right there that had its country tavern, pretty good barbecue. And it had other things I like, but I can't go there. But there was the Tokyo next door, which is like a hibachi, sushi, whatever. And I remember I had an ex-girlfriend when we lived out there on Millicent Way or whatever, not far from Fern. Some evenings we'd be like, hey, you want to? We'd go buy like a sushi, and so anyway, he and I were hanging out, and he was talking about his deep abiding love of Monster Hunter, and that's one of the things that him and his wife can share is that they both have a setup together, and they play the shit out of Monster Hunter. Just play it.
As much as I love the Monster Hunter, I could never get my wife to play that.
Oh wow!
But we have game setups too. We both have PS4s and we both have Switches for certain games that we'll play together.
Well, there's a couple times where the three of us played 76, so that was cool. Anyway, it's a quick funny aside when I'm thinking about it. So me and my nephew, I said, hey, it's your birthday, my treat. He's no. He's a sweetheart, you know. He's just so good. He's like, oh, let me pay half. I said, it's for your birthday. Let me get this for you. So I love how we're going to order hibachi, and they bring out that little laminated sushi thing and then the little, you know, marker where you make your marks. I mean, he's going crazy. I mean, he's marking both sides, and I'm looking at him because, you know me, because one, I'm thrifty, and then for two,
cheap.
You know, I'm just like going. Plus, I'm thinking, damn. I mean, he's a strapping lad, you know, of 30,
but who's going to eat all this?
But I'm like, damn. I mean, even could put away some groceries, and honestly, that's the most I ate after being sick because I was trying to eat as much as I could to have energy. I still lost weight when I was fighting COVID, but so I thought, man, it's going to be a lot of food. And I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me like, and he's thinking, and he knows me. If he's thinking I'm worried about the money, I'm like, no, it's for your birthday. It's okay. I really was just like, how are we going to eat all this, you know? So next thing you know, I said, well, I tell you, do you want to get hibachi? I mean, why don't we split the hibachi? And he goes, oh yeah, that'll be fine. Well, then he was going to like he's looking at me. I'm like, get what you want. So he's going to get steak, and I screw. If you're going to get steak, let's get the ribeye. You know, it's only $3 more or something. So anyway, the guy comes out to do the hibachi. Well, just when he's starting to get the grill started, here comes these three, Asian ladies carrying a big platter in each hand. And he looks at me like, what have we done? I said, this was you, son, And so I guess he's from Dallas. And there, if you order sushi,
he's thinking by the piece instead of like by the roll.
Yeah. And so I guess he was telling me there, like if you ordered the crunchy roll, you know how they're usually cut in, we'll call it a disc. You maybe get 4 of those discs. Like they're real Chinsley with it, and they charge you. Yeah. And here, this big old fat boys, Louisiana, whatever over there. I mean, it's like 8 of those discs a piece, and he ordered like 6 different ones. So yeah, I mean, I'm eating them and he's eating them, and finally I'm kind of miserable. And here comes the hibachi. He didn't even touch his, but I said, take it home to Gabby, that's his wife, and y'all eat like kings and queens for a couple of days. So yeah, but it was really good. I mean, it was delicious, and I'm normally not big on some of that stuff, but the sashimi, so to speak, the stuff that's not really cooked. Like my favorite one, of course, was the one where it's, lightly tempered and flash fried. So it's got, it's been cooked a little bit. Oh, I love that. Was really good. But even some of the other ones, it was like sashimi and stuff. I ate it and I actually kind of liked it, but anyway, but yeah, it was just funny. Sorry, then that we had a crap ton of food because he was like, well, I didn't realize it'd be this much. And I went, yeah, I did. And I was wondering what you were doing.
Yeah, I was like, have you eaten sushi before?
But I mean, apparently in Dallas, they must be really just cheap with the portions or something, And I was like, oh no, son, you about to, I mean, it was 8 and 12 of those. That's why I say, and I told him that story, but apparently he wasn't paying attention, that me and this girlfriend would go, and what do you want for dinner? We'll eat a little light. We would go order 1 sushi a piece, because it's 8 of those. I mean, yeah, you could fill up on 1, not Baker's dozen or whatever. Anyway, I thought it was a funny story. Yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
So, yeah.
It's cray.
Yeah. Anyway.
So when you're in Bossier, I like the old Kobe's.
Oh yeah, Kobe's is good.
That's
Absolutely.
where we used to go to.
I like the Kobe's.
With the train track right next to it to add to the ambiance.
Absolutely. I am so popular today.
Well, when you do a 5-hour podcast.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like you said we might try to double up and do another one next week or something.
Yeah, we're going to try and hit you guys with another one. But the good thing is this has been like 3 weeks worth of pop culture stuff. So if you don't like that, it'll be a lot shorter next time.
It'll be shorter, yeah.
And if you don't like that, by the way, tell us and we'll wrap that up.
Yeah. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. We love the anecdotes. We don't like the anecdotes, whatever. Just tell me if you like it or not. I don't want to know why, or tell me why you liked or didn't like it.
The pop culture thing, though, interestingly enough, I can tell you started because of the COVID. Oh, you didn't know?
No.
Because at the time of the COVID, when that started, we were like, hey, you're all locked in your house for a while. Here's some stuff that we've been watching and reading. And if you need something to watch or read, here's some recommendations.
That's right.
So that's when this came online. And if it's time to ditch that feature, we can.
Yeah, but that's become such a integral
beloved
part. Yeah, it seems like. Yeah, but let us know what you think. Sound off on Facebook or on SoundCloud. You can comment on a given feed or whatever, or send us an email at
noclassrpgpodcast@gmail.com.org.mil.
Yeah.
All right.
And definitely, please, like we always say, it sure is nice when other people promote us so we don't have to. So, like and share and tell your friends and whatever. Please and thank you.
Send money.
Yeah.
This is where we would usually do the RPG update, but I don't have much of one because I was going to run some games at Dragon's Nest Grand Opening, but somebody gave me COVID and then I wasn't able to do it.
Yep, I was looking forward to running games too.
But tonight I'm going up for board game night, which should be fun. And I haven't been to Dragon's Nest in 3 weeks a month.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to getting back up there. I miss those guys.
Yeah, they're good people. And did you ever try out the Zombicide that I loaned you to try out? Okay.
Nope. But yeah, I pretty much figure it's mine now. Part of my COVID compensation.
Well, I'll need to give you the
bells and whistles.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who's the guy from call me Snake Plissken from Escape from New York.
I heard he was in The Thing too.
Yeah, wasn't that cool? Yeah, I laughed when we were playing Outpost 13. Eddie was like, "Well, I got to be, I get to be McCready," and everyone's like, "All right, yeah."
I think I got him by random draw. You tell your version and I'll tell my version.
Right.
I definitely wanted to be McCready, and I don't know if we said, yeah, if you want to be whomever, you can be whomever, or we'll give it to you to shut you up.
Yeah.
But that was playing the board game.
That's basically The Thing, but it's called Outpost 13, I guess, for some reason.
Yeah. But I was like, well, I'm McCready, so I'm a human. We know I'm a human. I have to be. I'm McCready. And I was a human the whole time.
Yeah, I laughed. The line from the movie, like, here, let me show you what I already know. Eddie was playing that up, which was fun. It was part of the fun. And luckily, he never went. I think initially Sean was one of the things, and God bless Sean.
He got shut down so fast.
He has no poker face. So, I mean,
we immediately
knew. He had so many tells, and then there's a deal where halfway through the game, a second person gets infected, and I think that was me. But nobody, I don't think anybody knew.
Yeah, we did.
No.
Because Gary was playing too, right?
It was me, you, Gary, and Cody, and Robert. Not Robertson, but Sean. I can't think of Sean's last name. Reynolds? Sean. Anyway, Sean was here for the first bit, and then he had to leave about the time the food was ready, and we were watching movies.
But Gary has known you
since
700 years
in kindergarten,
and I've known you
over a decade now.
Yeah, and people will comment on the psychic abilities that we have. Like, we can watch you guys play at a table, and you'll be sitting on opposite sides of the table or opposite ends of the table, and be like, okay, the plan is wink, wink, double wink.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
I mean, we've got our facial innuendo down. I mean, we can have a conversation without saying a word. Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't like with Sean. God bless him. Everyone knew immediately.
Yeah.
Me, I think y'all were like looking at me and going, "Are you?"
But luckily, I had Double R here.
Yeah.
So he'd look at you and I'd look at you, and we both could confirm. We'd be like, "It's him, right?" And it's like, "Yep."
But you had to ask, you had to confirm. So give me a little something there.
Oh, yeah. Sean's was awful. It was very unfortunate for him.
I would love to play poker for money with Sean, because you would know if he had a good hand or not. But Sean's a great guy. But just, it's funny that in that regard, I mean, he's probably the guy that can't tell a lie, which is a good thing too. But anyway, gosh, here we go again. We're back on a tangent,
which you guys love. You've told us you've outpoured your letters, your phone calls. You just love these little tangents.
Yeah. Anyway, but it's fun to get. I haven't had a chance to talk to Ed, my bud, in over a month, and
like we say, it's like you're sitting at the table with us.
Yeah.
So you get to hear all these little dumb diversions and stuff that other classier professional podcasts might cut out. Exactly. Not us. You get to hear it all.
I'll just
unfiltered.
What is it?
Murder attempts and all.
Warts and all. I'm never gonna live this down.
No, definitely not.
Anyway, all right. So let us know what you think.
Are finally on to the topic.
Oh, that's right. We're not even done yet. I thought we were wrapping up. Okay, that's right. Topic. Okay, let's hear it. What's the topic? Since it was one I came up with.
The topic, as selected by Matt, is expectations versus reality.
Expectations versus reality.
Like you expected this podcast to be over about 30 minutes ago.
Exactly.
But the reality is...
Yeah, here we go. Here we go, killing again.
You missed us.
Now, I hope we have enough memory. Talking about COVID brain. So there's a private group that me and Eddie and Gary and Cody are part of. It's called the Four Horsemen, when it's not being called two Elden Lords and friends, or one shinobi or whatever.
One shinobi master.
Yeah, and three other dudes or whatever. But anyway, the name of the group, Eddie has a lot of fun changing it periodically for different reasons. I posted a cartoon, and it shows this. Yeah, see, you're laughing.
I have no idea what it is, but folks, you don't want to know what he posts in that group.
Yeah. That's where
insanity.
That's where I can post the really crazy stuff and really raunchy stuff that I couldn't post anywhere else. Because my Facebook is PG-13. I do that because I've got a lot of different wonderful people that I'm Facebook friends with, that some of them would not appreciate some of my dark humor. Anyway, but the comic is like this lady game master and her three players. One's another girl and there's two guys. And there's like the expectation and there's the reality. And so here she's trying to impart these great stories and this good role playing. And they show what she was hoping would happen, her expectation. And it shows her players completely crapping all over it. And it's a joke, haha, it's a laugh. And some of that's true, some it's not. Oh, also I posted a video of some really weirdo dude who's a DM in his group. And there's that one player, and again, there's like this guy's trying to tell this epic story, and the other players are into the role playing. There's one guy who's just like, you know, it's obvious to everyone.
I grab the guard and pull his pants down.
Yeah, and
paint
like,
his nutsack purple.
Yeah, and I pee in the king's face. You know, it's like what? No, you wouldn't do that. You can't do. This is a role playing game. It's fantasy. This is my fantasy and my role playing. You know, and I think that got me. Yeah, that got me to thinking about something even Eddie said is like we've seen people in recent years that have come to the hobby through.
Critical Role,
whatever it's called, and
Stranger Things,
yeah, and all that. And so the expectation that we think we've seen with some people is like they think that we're voice actors and we're going to do I'm the goblin, you know, whatever. And it's like, no, I mean, not every game master, probably very few game masters do that. Or maybe out there, if I was playing with the new upcoming in the zeitgeist or whatever, oh, that's what all the DMs are doing, silly voices or something now, and that's great. Whatever, teach their own. But it's the expectation versus reality. You know, have you seen some of that? Do you think?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And so, and that's the other thing is it's really a shame that I've had players complain like, oh, I wish I had a rich, compelling story and a campaign that would go on for months. But I've seen where in recent years, my stuff has become more episodic and maybe not, it's kind of light on the role playing. I'll try to sprinkle some in there, but it's kind of like you can't make everybody happy. For the one guy that wants heavy role playing, there's one guy that absolutely doesn't want to do any role playing. I want to kill beasts and take their loot, you know?
Well, the quick example of that is if I said we played D&D or what have you, and we didn't roll dice all night, do you go, oh, that sounds pretty fun? Or are you like, God, you must have been bored out of your mind?
There you go.
So there's one way to
and I'll say one of the best role-playing events of my life was me and Gary were playing a game together. It was actually Supers, and we hardly touched a dice the whole night, but the role-playing was some of the best role-playing I've ever done. And gosh, 40 years of playing role-playing games. But I was so into my character, and Gary was so into this one NPC. The NPC was so beloved that when we thought he died in an adventure later, like the girls at the table were getting misty, and one guy had to get up and walk away from the table, and like I was pounding the table, and I was like, this is unacceptable. He cannot be dead. I mean, this was a make-believe character that was, I mean, that beloved. Gary, that's one of the times you knocked it out of the park. And it's great, but I will say, yeah, I mean, but any other time, if we'd sat there the whole night, touch a dice, I probably would have been like, all right, we need like at least one combat or something, you know? Yeah. And even Gary, funny, the guy who gave me this great role-playing experience, he's the first guy to tell you, he's like, hey, if we don't touch a dice, I know Gary would not like that at all. I mean, Gary can appreciate some role-playing, but he wants some combat too. And I'm wondering is, I love James Ward, and I hate that he got really sick with COVID, and his work got busy and all this stuff. But he used to game with us, and I had a lot of fun. But I often wondered if I wonder where he stands on that, because I almost wondered, like, should we have had more role playing? Is that thing maybe he didn't like that we were really heavy handed with the combat or whatever? I don't know where he lies. I'd be curious to know, because I miss gaming with James. Everybody's got that. I remember back then playing in Living Greyhawk. When I would run games, when I had role playing, one of my old buddies, Phil Lawyer, again, God rest his soul, he would get visibly uncomfortable with role playing. I mean, literally. And I thought, and it always boggled me, I would think, well, why would you come play role playing games if the concept of role playing is literally going to make you like physically uncomfortable? But then there's people that will tell you, well, it's dice rolling role playing. The
one thing I will say along that, as sort of devil's advocate or what have you, whatever you will, as I've said that enough this podcast, if you will, is when
absolutely
no one at the table is really role playing.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of like, my character does this, my character does that, blah blah blah. Here's all our heavy combat focused, and then the other one person at the table is like, and then Kachaka will do this, and he will take his pouch, and he will sprinkle the dust upon the sand, and he raises up and dances around for 10 minutes, and everybody's just like, dude, you're the only one at the table that is quote-unquote role-playing like this. You're far beyond everybody else. It'd be like the one person that shows up in costume, where it's like, I dressed as the monk tonight.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, read the table, if it was all heavy role playing and you're the guy that's like, I roll and I hit and blah, 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 that's next one, then you're the one that's out of place.
Yeah, yeah.
But you're equally out of place when you're the one person that's taking the role playing over the top, like you're in community theater or something.
Yeah.
Buy what yon light. Okay, guy.
Yeah, it's like
Just tell me your attack roll.
Yeah, that's like I'll say is like I like a little light role playing, but it's like I've been in groups where it was like Shakespeare in the Park, you know, and I'm like, and even I won't lie, was a little like at first I was like, it was outside my comfort level, but I eventually grew to be comfortable with it, and I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. So don't get me wrong, I played in some role playing heavy games, and I played in some where it did not exist. It was not there. You're just showing up for the camaraderie, rolling some dice, killing beasties, taking their loot, whatever. And I think it's nice if you can find that middle ground, but it's kind of like Eddie said, you got to read your table. And that's once again, and we chime on that new hip concept, what it's called, session 0, where you could kind of talk about where do we want to fall on the whole role playing thing. And and a lot of people I don't address that, but it's not a bad idea. And I'm a little envious sometimes. There's that some people get I would like a little more role playing, but then again, like you said, it's what do your players want?
I would like more role playing as well, because it is at least 90% combat simulator. That's all it is.
And I will say it's one of the things that we've doted on, and it's maybe getting older or whatever it is, but where we came from, back to our roots, that the rules lighter games. And that's one thing I keep finding myself, I really like them, because one of the things I remember reading an article about a guy that said he ran this one campaign for some people in the world's most oldest popular game system, and really the campaign lasted for like a year, because to be able to tell his story around the combats, it took a year. He went with a much rules lighter game where the combats go quicker, and they're still rich and dynamic, but just by the dint of the system, they're quicker and they don't tab as much of the game session. The guy ran the campaign with some other people like the next year in this other game system. The campaign was over in 8 months, because literally some of these games, but that's just it. If you're like, I don't want to have to do a lot of writing for this week's session, depending on what game you're running, well, we'll just have a lot of combats, wink, wink, and there won't be any time for role playing. But if you want to do that, it's something you want to incorporate, that's where you can think about the game system even that you're running your adventure in, because there's more than one game system. And there's a lot of good ones out there, like DCC. I've been running a campaign for the game club, in DCC. I remember because it was kind of for me as a personal challenge when I first got into DCC, and anything I get into, I want to research. People were like, "You can't do a campaign in DCC. It's only good for one-offs or the funnels or something like that." And I said, "I'm going to prove you wrong." And I ran a campaign here at the house for about a year and a half. And it was an ongoing campaign in DCC, and we had a lot of fun with it. But I will say, we're finding that the farther you get into DCC, it gets difficult to challenge the players. And I'd love to hear people's input on that. Oh no, Matt, here's what you're doing wrong. But I've been running games for almost 40 years, and I figure I'd like to know. I would know what to do to accommodate for X, Y, Z. But yeah, any other thoughts on the whole expectation versus reality with games?
Yeah, even with your session 0, people are going to say, I want this to be heavy role play. Yeah. Then you're like, all right, you have a session where you don't roll any dice, and people go, what about the combat? So, I mean, even though people are going to tell you they want X, sometimes they really want Y. It's just cooler to say.
Or maybe it's the peer pressure at the table where everybody's like, I want heavy role playing. They'll go, yeah, me too. But maybe they really don't. They don't have the nerve to speak up. And, God bless people. But that's the thing for years, and I had to learn that just in life, that, not everybody's like you. And so, I mean, it's interesting the dynamics of people's living, their life experiences and where they came from and how they grew up in that, in anything, but definitely even in gaming, is that you can see a real blend of, on the spectrum of role playing to no role playing, you could have, say there's 6 points on that chart. You could have a person at each point on that chart. So it's kind of, you can't please everybody. And that's the tough thing.
And they could all be at the same table.
Yeah.
Because how many people want to play D&D or role playing game in the first place?
Yeah.
Especially being out in the country. It's like, okay, there are, say, 10 people in this whole little community that'll even touch the multi-sided dice.
That was, growing up, shoot, man, just even finding someone who'd play games was tough.
And then some of those are going to be complete jerks where you're like, I don't ever want to be around this person.
Yeah.
So then you're down to say 8. Okay, now what do you 8 guys want to play? I don't want to play supers. Well, we want to play traditional fantasy. Okay, those guys are out. So now you're to fantasy. Now, how much role playing do you want?
Yeah.
So then you're scattered, and it's like, well, we either try and meet somewhere in the middle, or we don't do this.
Yeah. And that's like all the jokes about D&D, you know, I mean, trying to get people together on the same day at the same time and to meet consistently. And, you know, and that's things when you were a kid, it was hard enough. But as an adult, when people get sick or work or their kids or other obligations or hobbies or interests, it's tough getting people together, you know.
It's going to be a lot of fun when we're in the nursing home.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All day, every day.
That's right. I'll just change my brief, you know, right before the game, and you know, it'll be great. You know, maybe I'll have a catheter if I'm lucky, so I can really do a marathon. You know, but no, I definitely I've thought about that. I'll be curious to see, you know, how many people in the old folks home will be, you know, because honestly, your typical gamer probably in their sedentary lifestyle, we're not going to live that long, but probably not.
Well, believe it or not, they're playing video games.
That's cool.
So
yeah. Oh, I've heard about some old people. Like there's a Japanese granny that's one of these Twitcher, YouTube influencers. I mean, people are watching her play games, you know, or something.
And I think your mom's even a good example.
Yeah.
Isn't she big on the mobile games?
Which is the hilarious thing. When I was a kid, what's up with this D&D? And you're always playing these games, video games, like you're wasting your time. And I love that, like, whenever I first got on Facebook, they used to have this stuff where like Sybil's playing Diner Dash, and you know she's trying to grant you 3 puppies and you know, to get you to play. And it's like Sybil's gifting you 8 rubies or whatever. Like, you know, if you would gift these things to other people on Facebook, you'd get more playtime or points of your own or whatever. And finally, there's a thing you can go into Facebook they added eventually, because it's where you could block that crap. But I laugh, so I tease my mom every time I'd see her. She's like, hey, help me download this game on my iPad. And I'm like, is that all this iPad uses? I think to play games. And why are you wasting time on all these games? So, you know, whatever. And every day in her little elder community, they have dominoes, or they're playing beanbag, or they're playing
bingo,
yeah, or something. I mean, they're playing some sort of game. But I think that's great that these people are keeping mentally and physically active doing this stuff, and it's really awesome. But I laugh. This is the one that used to give me a hard time about, why are you playing all these games? And I'm thinking, her life is games now. That's all it is. Which, I mean, I'm grinning. I think that's wonderful. But it's the irony of it is delicious. But yeah. So again, just what do you think about, you know, expectation versus reality, and in our hobby, I guess, you know, I'd love to hear what y'all have to think. But yeah, it's just
how is your group?
Yeah.
How do your expectations meet up? How do they align? Are you in a group where everybody wants to role play, or everybody's combat focused?
Yeah. Are you over here going, man, I wish we had more role playing? Or you're like going, ugh, you know, whatever. And that's fine. There's no wrong answers here. That's what I was talked about. I used to kind of judge people and be like, oh, why don't you like more of this or that I like? But I realize now I respect the people that like, I don't want to role play, or I want to, you know, do Shakespeare in the Park. There's nothing wrong with that. My friend Ross, when I first came with him and his wife, they came from people that played vampire, and they practically LARPed. I mean, you know, I remember playing with them first time. I was kind of blown away, because I mean they were very heavy role playing, very comfortable with it. Yeah, there's nothing, and that's great, you know, whatever. But it was just, I wasn't used to that, you know. And I was like, whoa, but I got used to it, and I really enjoyed it. So I mean, yeah, there's no wrong answers, but let us know what you think.
Yeah, just give us some answers.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right.
We said it at the same time, so I guess that means
yeah. We're all out of hit points.
By that clock on the wall, I can tell. We've got COVID from Matt.
Yeah.
Get well soon.
Yeah.